So, Chuck, moving away from that political drama to another kind of drama. So, Marcelo Bielsa has officially been sacked, or whether it's by mutual consent. He's no longer the coach of Leeds. And following the loss against Spurs 4-0 over the weekend, was it time for Bielsa to go?
No, looking at the recent results, it definitely was. I mean, look, you were saying Uti, he was looking funny under the light. I know.
He was, man.
I mean, look, as the legend that he is, you can't have a turn of results like this. I think at this point it's quite embarrassing. As a godfather of football, or who tutored and mentored our Pep, now Wanbani, this was bad because I mean, I think what character says a lot about him. Nabo, who's the boy? Michael Richards, that he's naive and. You can't disagree. I mean, you can't go into every game concede.
Imagine Michael Richards is telling the supposedly great Marcelo Bielsa, like arguably the greatest football brain the last however many years, that he's naive.
I mean, look, I think there's a number of factors. Number one, I remember you mentioning it, Guti, towards their title tilt in the championship. In the second half, they were just a spent force because there was just too much physical exertion in their gameplay. Number two, they come into the league and they play very well. They play this expansive, attractive style of football and they look good. And in the second season, I believe all of that is catching up to them. Number one, they've been figured out. Number two, teams have become better. Certain teams have settled and have become better. They're still playing this open game and they're not reinforcing with any defensive players. I mean, Calvin Phillips is a big miss. Kevin Phillips is a big miss. I know that. Roberts, who deputizes, is a big miss as well. I know that. But who else do you have who's gonna close off all these goals coming in? About Ailing keep running. About Click keep running. Like no one changes their style of play. This was triggered at Arsenal a couple of years back. They always play the same, home or away, regardless of the opposition. But they weren't letting in 5, 6, 7 goals every other week. It wasn't consecutive like that.
Well, it's hard every time we are like, do you want to have 5? Want to have 6 this weekend?
But it was against City most recently. But I mean, this is against everyone who is anyone in the league, and I mean. Something had to change, and if Bielsa wasn't going to change his system, he's proven that in the entire campaign, come rain or shine, Leeds play the same way. So I mean, to change what the results are, you have to change the guy at the top. This is not a matter of is it the players, is it the system, it's clearly Bielsa because they play the same way the whole time. Hasn't changed anything.
I am feeling some form of empathy towards Bielsa
because he's got the sack.
Not how it came about. First of all, yes, the elephant in the room is the fact that they just keep shipping goals. 7 against City, 6 against Liverpool, 4 against Arsenal, 5 and 4 against Manchester United, 4 against Spurs over the weekend. I get that those are the big 6 teams, but man, not everyone is being blown away or shipping that many goals against those teams, you know, and Everton as well. I think against Aston Villa as well, also copped 3, and this is all now like the last 4 matches in a row. So when you just look at results and you just look at how they're playing, where you're going from one thrashing to another and it seems as if there's no adjustment in between, you are looking at the coach in that situation. The sympathy that I feel towards his situation is the fact that he is missing the spine of his team. Cooper's out, Phillips is out, and Bamford is out. Rodrigo, beginning of last season, was signed to actually usurp Bamford in the starting lineup. But then Bamford came into the league and showed that he actually belongs at this level. And with him being out, Rodrigo hasn't stepped up. And Bamford came back for a game, scored in that game, got injured in that game, and he's now been out long-term again. And the thing with Bielsa, the players that you did mention, these are the players that he came up with. He is loyal to his players. And this is both a tragedy and a romantic trait about him, that he really does seem to love his players. Where maybe if you're looking at the team and you are assessing, like football wise, that maybe these guys are not these are not the dudes who are going to push us forward in terms of whatever our vision is to stay in the league and to then move up to places where you find the Wolves, a Leicester the last couple of seasons. And what has happened is those guys who are not very good, they're okay, they're professionals, but they're not very good, Click.
I don't know.
Click.
One of those.
Say Click. Click had a good game, a very good game prior to the one against Spurs. But then those are few and far between. All of his players, they like that, where they cannot produce a performance which you can rely on to be there every single game. And that's a problem.
Yep.
The only one who has is Rafinha, and lest we forget, Bielsa did give us players like Rafinha. He did reintroduce Bamford to the big leagues, and it's like, okay, this is a guy who can even be capped by England. Calvin Phillips is now a guy who you think is going to end up with one of the bigger teams. He was starring in the Euros, and that is someone who was brought on by Bielsa as well. Bielsa knows his football. There's no question about that. But the question for me of how it translates to a winning culture or a winning team is one that has dogged him for his whole career, because he's never really won anywhere. His greatest achievement is winning the 2008 Olympics with Argentina, a team that had Messi and Aguero and Di Maria, and Di Maria was doing Di Maria things in a final in the tournament. So he has this respect from all these coaches, but when he has run a club, it's left a bit to be desired. Ultimately, I do think it was time for them to part ways. We're hearing that Jesse Marsch, recently of Leipzig, is going to come in and coach Leeds. That is going to be interesting for me, because he was the guy who was coaching Salzburg and gave us Haaland, gave us Minamino, and Szoboszlai as well, the Hungarian international. So we'll see what that looks like. It should be exciting times for Leeds fans. I don't know, though, if Leeds fans want more excitement, because excitement has led them to this place.
That's what I was about to ask you right now, Wuti. Can anyone make a case for exciting football if you've just come up into the Premier League? Because not too long ago,
you have a position on this.
We had a guest, yes, and you guys were dreading watching Burnley, and you wanted them out.
True.
Burnley are doing better now because of their pragmatic football, just keeping teams at bay, nicking that 1 or 2 goals that they get in a game, not looking exciting at all in any game. Leeds, though, have run his team, basically, to put it simple. They've run his team. Is there a case? Can you play this kind of football and survive? Because not too long ago, Ivan Toney was just having a kickabout with the lads, right? Against Arsenal. And that's come back to bite them, because you can't maintain that style. Can you make a case for this style of football as a newcomer?
In terms of trying to find success in the Premier League, no, you can't. Because especially when you play against the bigger teams, they just have more firepower, and they are going to overpower you. We were waxing lyrical about the game between Leeds and Manchester United last season, and mostly was because, man, it's refreshing. This Leeds team, they just keep going, they keep coming. It doesn't matter how hard you hit them. They're like Rocky Balboa in that sense. They come up and more often than not get another beating. And it was refreshing, and as I'm saying, all of us were praising the breath of fresh air that Leeds had brought into the league. But when you look at that game, they got battered in that game at the end of the day. For us, Chuck, and I'm speaking as a fan. This is that's the case I make as a fan, that I'd rather watch what I saw between Leeds and Manchester City when they mashed up so well against Manchester City at Ellen Road last season. They
even got a red card and managed to win that game because they kept on going.
They drew. They drew against Manchester City.
Was it the equalizer in the last minute? Oh,
yes, but they were well matched up against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, and you saw the respect that Pep paid to Bielsa after the game, even though they did drop the 2 points. And that's what I want to watch. I want to see that. I want to see that excitement. It felt like when Leeds were playing, especially last season, it felt like a throwback to like early 2000s Premier League, where you had those games that were back and forth. But then you have guys like Burnley. I don't want to watch Burnley. I don't want to watch terrorist football, Jack. I don't want to see guys who just are playing not to lose. I don't want to see that. Is it better for you to survive? Of course it is. I would say it is. So if I was running a team, I'd run it like Burnley. But if I'm paying to watch football, there's no way I want to pay and watch Burnley. I'd rather watch Leeds.
I think the case for exciting football will work under certain circumstances that aren't really available to the teams. One, if they have finances to buy better players, and 2, if they have the personnel, because largely they come up with their squad of 25 players or whatever. They never have that team of 30 players.
Even when they bought,
Yeah.
Big money expenditure was Rodrigo. And then this season was Daniel James.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, he's given them a goal here and there, but against Tottenham,
Manchester United finessed Leeds.
Against Tottenham, there was a time when he was put through on goal, and he rushed the shot like, dude, but guy through pass. Agnamunt, why are you rushing the shot?
But you see, that's the caliber of player that is at Leeds, because not Ailing, number 15. Forgot his name now. But he did the same thing. He was through one-on-one Dallas. He was through one-on-one, and
from the halfway line, did you see that run?
So, man, it was coming, because, and I don't even know what the next coach, how much he's going to improve, apart from saying let's defend better, because even like against Spurs, they were undone by some brilliant play, and in some instances. The first goal was something we saw from Spurs in the last game against City. They do favor that left flank. You send a runner, and you send a through ball from deep and crosses into the box, and you've got someone finishing.
Goal number 4.
Goal number 4. When Harry Kane turns into Kroos or Pogba, and he does those things, and at the end of that, you've got Son. What can you do?
Son has that bias. If it's coming from Kane, he'll gently control it and make sure to put it away. So, and now they're at the top of that. The
Kulusevski's goal, like, defend better, guys. Like, you can't have him. He's not Messi coming in from the right flank and just going through all of you to then put in a shot at the near post. Things like that. It's like, as the players, you can do better. As maybe the coach, you can marshal them better. I don't know if it's because they've lost so often that they demoralized, and they find it hard to get up for games, man.
So with Spurs beating Leeds, thrashing them, and having won against City as well, does this give Conte a bit of a reprieve? Does this justify or rather, does this put wind back in his sails in terms of where the Conte ship is going?
If they had lost against Leeds, he was walking out after that game.
And because if you think about it, they had chances as well, Leeds.
He was much close to tears. That man was talking about, we've lost 4 or 5 games and it's unacceptable. And he was talking about, he's disillusioned now with the project, which is like, what dreams is Daniel Levy selling to these guys? Because when you sat down with him and you've watched Spurs, and I would imagine you've spoken to colleagues about what happens at Spurs. Whatever promises that Levy made you, he was never going to deliver on them. And even if that is the case, Conte as well. Like, he says that he's an ambitious man, but his ambition is on another, because at this point already, you went to Tottenham and you are expecting, I don't know what his expectations were, that they are going to be challenging for a title. Almost everyone goes through a patch like that. The only teams who haven't gone maybe a run like that of late is City, Liverpool, and maybe Chelsea. You know, everyone else is in this mix of what exactly are you? You know, and Spurs, when he took over, Jekyll and Hyde, which is what they still are. They have Kane and so on, and we've said not much else. And yeah, man, like Conte, this will be a slight reprieve. But the moment they lose again, he is going to be questioning why he should be there, because he was actively trying to get himself fired.
I mean, if you look back, that last season he was at Inter, and now he's at Tottenham, and things are looking vastly different in terms of the personnel,
the
backing.
Naive then.
Yeah, Angaz, maybe, I don't know, maybe he was finessed as well, because sports has a lot of lies, lots of smoke and mirrors, and he just found himself in one of those traps. But I think, look, as bad as it's been, even for Conte, because I mean, he started quite well unbeaten, and then it just went all downhill, COVID, Conference League, and then it just piled up. Maybe if he stays on for another season, maybe he can see what he can actually make of it. But this season, yeah, I mean, the best bet is top 4.
If I'm a Spurs fan, Chuck, I don't think I want this guy as a coach. Because as soon as we hit another speed bump in the road, he's going to want out.
That's the passion that they wanted.
That's not the leader you want, though. If the coach is the leader, you know, he's the face of the team. And as the players as well, when you hear your coach in front of international TV talking about he's not there for the money and maybe he's too ambitious, and if the ambition is not met by the club, then maybe that's not the place. He's thinking out loud. Well, according to him, he's wondering out loud, making these musings which are coming straight from his head, no filter, through his mouth. And if you are watching that, if I'm a Spurs player or a Spurs fan, and I'm hearing my coach question whether or not he wants to be here, I don't want you here.
I'm sure he knows that Harry Kane's going to leave sooner or later, and he's just making that known. If this guy stays,
well, reports say that Harry Kane love him.
I don't know if Harry Kane loves me enough to stay, because I mean this ship is going nowhere slowly. So, but yeah, he finds himself where he is, and he needs to make best of the situation.
If he's going to stay for another season, they have to buy him whoever he wants, and that is
2 or 3.
He does have Spurs. He's holding Spurs at ransom at this point.
If Mourinho could not get money from Levy, do you think Conte has a bit of luck?
No one. Levy didn't want to take 150 million plus add-ons for Harry Kane, so who's almost 30, and his contract you think he's not going to renew his contract. So if he's refusing money, like, you best believe he's not trying to spend money out of his pocket.